So we'll go into the deeper inquiry of our practice is about a lot of people ask themselves constantly, or they fight to navigate, what should I do? Who am I? How do I heal? What's my story? And how to come into that space of getting out of the story. So what is already, you have to come into the inquiry, what is already making the decisions before I believe I have to decide it, or into that same space. So this inquiry today will cut into the space of beyond the politics, beyond the religion, beyond the psychology, behind beyond everything. It cuts deeper for you to settle. Hi, Lisa. So let comes into that place, and then I'll navigate into that space. So just, I don't want to inspire you from this class, because inspiration fades. And what happened when you go into that inspiration from YouTube, social media, and when it fades, who are you? I don't want to motivate you, because motivate depends on your mood. Some days you're very motivated. Second day you bitch about the same motivation that you have to that work or that purpose. I don't even want you to agree with me today, because that's not where I'm leading you. Agreements changes nothing. I want something far more uncomfortable. I want you to discover whether the person you call me has actually been living, or simply continuing the same loophole. And there is a sudden break from that loop, but then you go back into that loop, because even it's struggling, it is the thing that knows your story. It is a thing that you can hold and abruptly come into that confrontation. So I think the most humanity is being filled by idea of living, but it's not lived. So there is an enormous difference that this invisible machinery, and you put things into the past and to the future, because you're not comfortable with the present moment. So saying that, take a deep breath and elongate your spine. I will move the camera towards Darren. Shoulders roll back, and just observe that space that constantly get criticized, that you are answering for someone else. So something moves instantly. Where did that movement begins? When there is another person in your vocabulary, or the word, or the party, or the location. Just take a deep breath in and come into that space of before the language, before the thought. Not that you want to change the screen from thought to no thought. Now, your idea of before explaining anything to anyone, including yourself, because you explain to get out of yourself, but observe that space. Now you can see where the body tightens and you become even uncomfortable. Your face get quite tightened even before you explain the story, because the nervous system has reacted. So now you see the body, you see the breath. Now the mind arrived afterwards and call it my opinion, my life. Now, can you see that part? Was it my opinion? Or was it conditioning speaking through your mouth? We speak of freedom, yet our day is almost entirely predictable, because I know where are things going to happen? No, I know what's going to come next. Is that a predictable thought and you're aligning that thought to become a reality of you? So you can go back to the same story to end up the day? Now, shoulders roll back, arms raise onto the crown. In this interlacing of the fingers, you drop the shoulders a little bit more and create the space from ear to the shoulders, ear to the shoulders, stabilize the scapula. Now, breath out, twist the spine to the right side, stomach pulled in on the out breath. But your elongation is there. Your space of the rib cage is open because this will allow you to see the energy of the emotional patterns, energy formation of the same attraction, why you attract this verbalization. And why do you talk about the same fears even on a positive note? Back into the center. Now change the leg formation. Now come into the space of that elongation in the back, and your back is holding the chest and the support that you come from the ground. Take a deep breath in, breath out, twist the spine to the left side. Now observe the energy of the same conversation that you want to have it on a spiritual language, but it still leads into that. The same argument on a spiritual language. Or you're holding someone not spiritually aligned enough for you to have the conversation. The same identity protecting itself. Now under the name of spirituality, now the name of righteousness. I mean, there are so many labels. I won't go into it. Back again. Now, are you coming into this class because it's a different day and you're bringing the same nervous system? This is the great illusion. Please wake up into this because there's nothing for you to fix in the surface. Now take a deep breath in and bring the left foot into the back and opening up the right hip, right shoulder. Shoulders roll back. Now elevate the hips, but you're grounding still the knee and the hip in the same alignment. Your back foot is not turning onto a side. Even if it's uncomfortable, it's pointing into the back, but if it's uncomfortable, keep a towel on it or underneath. Now take a deep breath in, arms raise onto the crown. Now this might give you a balance to move the hip to a side, but don't do that. If it's tilting, just keep a block under the thigh. Breath out, spread the wings wider and drop the palms onto the floor, into the front, walk those body. Now the part of this great illusion is human beings think they suffer because life is uncertain. I want to have the certainty of the finances. I want to have the certainty of the house. I want to have the certainty of my profession, even I am not able to do it. I want the business to continue. Perhaps we suffer because certainty has become our addiction. Now, do you see that addiction? We don't want truth. So we are quite addicted to this suffering, but we don't say that. We say we are motivated. We are very business oriented. We are very future oriented. We want the prediction because the brain constantly predicts. So you have to ask where your information comes from, the predictions. The nervous system constantly prepares according to it. And it is uncertainty that you're fighting with. Now take a deep breath in and gently coming back. Shoulders roll back and opening up that chest. And elevate the space of the heart into the flag. So the consciousness here is the living laboratory of consciousness. So we are going to be very much observing, not other species, but ourselves. Now left knee onto the floor, right arm reaching up to the ceiling. Clench and unclench right, reaching into the back and very gently touch the floor. Now left arm reaching up to the ceiling, opening up, clench and unclench, roll those wrists, clench and unclench, left reaching into the back, touch the floor. Now drop the knee and completely breathe out to the cat. Breathing in into the cow, breath out to the cat. Get that stretch probably to release that emotions which are trapped in the nervous system means it is still trapped. Drop the belly, looking up. Now neutral spine and rotate the hips wider, 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 wider onto the other side. When you do take the wider rotation, come forward and stretch those groin hips back to the center and stretch the spine. Now, when the brain constantly predicts this story on all versions, even when the new life has happened, when the new partner has come, the new business has come, new work has come, new ethics have come, new morals have come, identity constantly confirms itself. You're really meeting the reality. You're meeting your predictions of reality. The new age trap is even spirituality can become another prediction. Even enlightenment can become another identity. Now, the inquiry here is what is the intelligence? Because knowledge remembers, so you can't escape the knowledge. But the difference between the knowledge remembering, intelligence observe. Now, knowledge repeats, intelligence discover. Now, knowledge accumulates, so it becomes very stale after a while. Intelligence is alive. Now, crawling and bringing the chest into the front, breathing into an up face. Breathe out towards a down face. Now, toes pointing at each other, bending the knees. You don't have to go into a perfect down face here. You're trying to get those armpits, elbows stretch, fingers stretch. You're trying to gravitate towards with the upper body onto the floor. You're opening up the hips a little bit more. And you take a deep breath in and you bring that left foot into the pigeon pose. So now we have worked on few things. We have worked on the conditioning speaking through our mouth. We speak about freedom, but we are far away from freedom. We want prediction. So I told you what is intelligence. Now let's go to the agreement. As I say, it changes nothing in the space of the mind. You agree to marry someone. You agree to live with someone. You agree to build a place, a location. You agree to have, but have you changed? Or you just give the honeymoon of it, or the romance of it? Shoulders roll back, opening up the chest and drop the elbows, move those palms. Now we want to be something far more uncomfortable. I want to discover whether the person you call me has actually been living or simply continuing. Most people believe that they are making choices. I think the most humanity is being lived. There can be enormous difference. This invisible machinery I talked to you. Perhaps the real intelligence begins the moment the experience is allowed to be new. So if you're holding on to your story, there's nothing new about it. You're running on the same old fuel. Same old smoke comes after a while. Same old noise comes after a while. Now you have to ask, if this is same old stuff coming out, why is the humanity is exhausted? And people are exhausted because they spend their lives defending an image that they think that the other people know it and I need to fix it. When people are exhausted because they spend their lives defending that space constantly. An identity can become a weight we no longer notice that we are carrying. So take a moment to drop that carrying. So let's find the master key to it. Can you observe without immediate becoming the observer? Can there simply be anger without becoming an angry person? Can there be fear without becoming someone who is afraid? It's okay to have fear. It's okay to have anger, but without being the angry person, without being the person who is afraid. Now take a deep breath in and gently coming back, shoulders roll back, opening up the chest and lifting up the space of the heart. This is what I call the living laboratory of consciousness. Now into a plank, stronger on the pelvic floor. When you are stronger on the pelvic floor, you're not putting the weight onto the wrist or to the toes, but you're still breathing in and out deeply. You don't lock the bandhas and stop breathing. Right knee onto the floor, left arm reaching up to the ceiling, clench and unclench. Left reaching into the back and touch the floor. Right arm reaching up to the ceiling, clench and unclench. Right reaching into the back and touch the floor. Now into a plank. Now into a lower plank, if you can, otherwise drop the knees. Up face. Breathing in on the up face, breathe out towards the down face. Now I can break the cycle, breathing into a plank. Drop the knees and stretch the spine. Drop the hips. Crawling and bringing the chest into the front, breathing into up face, not Bhujangasana. Breathe out towards the down face. Breathing in into a plank, drop the knees, stretch the spine on the out breath. Crawling and bringing the chest into the front, breathing in into up face. Breathe out towards the down face. Breathing in into a plank, drop the knees and stretch the spine. Now, can there be then sadness without building a life around it? Can be there a moment experience no longer becomes the identity, freedom now quietly begins. Now, a challenge tomorrow morning before you touch your phone, before you remember your responsibilities, pause for a minute. Ask only one question. What has already begun before I have said I? Before even I said I, what was already begun? Don't answer it, watch it. Watch tomorrow also. Breathing was already happening. Not because you were running out of breath. Hearing was already happening, not because you can't hear. Life was already moving while even you're sleeping. Even thought had already begun. Then who is this I that claims the ownership afterwards? Now, for a moment, just imagine Perhaps the humanity doesn't need more information. Perhaps we need fewer conclusions, more observation. Maybe we can train our neuropaths to be less certain, more humility, and less becoming. When you become less becoming, you become more direct contact with life. Now, crawling and bringing the chest into the front, breathing in into up face, breathe out onto the down face. Now, breathing in, lifting up onto the toes, breathing out, drop back to the heels if you can. Now, left leg up into the back. You can bend the other knee if you want to. Left knee onto the chest, stretch back. Left knee onto the left elbow, stretch back. Left knee onto the right elbow, stretch back. Left foot into the front, arm stretch into the back. Now, you don't have to keep that back footing totally on an angle to the right. It can point into the front a little bit. Arms stretch into the back, arms raise onto the ground. Palms onto the namaskar position. Maybe at this pose, with this breathing, this settlement onto the ground, keeping the body standing up and then opening up onto the warrior. The greatest revolution may be in the silent moment when one human being sees that awareness itself is untouched by any stories. Awareness is where it is observed. Now take a mudra on the left. Compassion then becomes the natural expression of the mind that no longer defending itself with a story. Gentle arch. Back into the center. Elbow onto the knee. Right arm reaching up to the ceiling. Right reaching into the back and touch the floor. Left arm reaching up to the ceiling. Take about 6 deep cycles of breath. Now, back foot is elongating properly. Let the breath comes and observe. This is the invitation. It's not to become someone better on physically, mentally, and spiritually. This is to discover what has been quietly living your life before you ever believed you were in control. Because you've been told, be in control, be in control, be in control. Left reaching into the back and touch the floor. Now drop the back knee and lunge forward and backward after holding onto the front knee a few times to release. Shoulders relax and chest open. Arms raise onto the crown. Spread the wings wide, Garudasana right on the top. Now touch the third eye, just not as my third eye. What is already living in my life before I believe I have a choice and I'm choosing. Or if you want something even more penetrating into the practice, before the story begins, investigate the birth of experience. The experience of birth, okay, not the story. What is silently living in my life? Or maybe the moment before me appears. Where did this me came into your life and you start adding stories into it like medals from a war hero that you have fought this battle? The birth of experience. Who is living this life? Before a thought claims ownership. So your deeds and titles are your thoughts. the invisible machinery of human being. Spread the wings wider when you come into this realization. Feel the body from this space of realization. Feel the mind is still trying to control because it only knows control. And it only can control as far as you hold on to your story. Flag. Now, this one, if you have not done, drop the left knee. Otherwise, don't drop the left knee. If your right foot can come over the left leg. So that's all like opening like that. Yeah, correct. So this is the advanced pose Lhasa is doing, but you can always drop the left knee onto the floor. Right, reaching into the back and touch the floor and drop the knee and stretch the spine. Now, direct observation before interpretation comes. When you're challenged, just before you interpret, according to your story, just observe. Where does the experience actually begin? Can we discover what is already happening before the mind says, I am doing this? Even the posture, even the asana, even the pranayama, you change a little bit and you think that it belongs to you. Now, how does the nervous system predicts the experience? How conditioning shapes perceptions? How identity is constructed? How suffering is constantly maintained? How healing may emerge not by adding something, but by seeing clearly what has always been present. So the next level of our work is the living laboratory of consciousness. So the foundation here is before the story begins. And who is choosing the story? The body knows before the mind explains things and becomes ownership of it. The birth of the self, the addiction to the inner conflict, constantly addicted to that conflict. Even now, you may experience you want to answer this back, and then becomes so fear of being fully alive. What is silently living your life before you even make a choice? All of us goes on this. The time is not correct. Place is not correct. This is not another method to practice today. It is a discipline inquiry into how experience is born from moment to moment. So responsibilities need to be posed. Ask only one question. What has already become before I said I, I, and then you put the words every day differently. Don't answer it. Watch it. Just watch it for me for a while. These are the deep healing sessions that we do on this living laboratory of consciousness. So we can cut through. Hearing was already happening, life was already moving. Then who is this I that claims ownership afterwards? Whether things are happening great, whether things are not happening great, they protect their identity. That was not my fault. Perhaps humanity doesn't need more information, as I always say. Perhaps we need fewer conclusions, more observation, less certainty, more humility. Now, when you come into this place, crawling and bringing the chest into the front, take a deep breath in, breathing in into an up face. Breathing out towards the down face. Breathing in right leg up into the back. Right knee to the right chest. Stretch back. Right knee to the right elbow. Stretch back. Right knee to the left elbow. Stretch back. Right foot into the front. Arms stretching to the back. Arms raise onto the crown. Placing the fingers, palms facing up. Shoulders relax and chest open. Now come into a pranam position. Now in that pranam position, it is not meditation. Today, the living laboratory of consciousness. It's not a technique. It's not another philosophy. Welcome to the living laboratory of consciousness. Opening up onto the Virabhadrasana. Now, be very gentle that you are not adding anything. Nothing is being added. Take a mudra that nothing is being taken away from you. Now take another breath and let your nervous system know that nothing is being asked of you. So why you still keep the story? There is no ideal state to reach now. No special experience to create. I'm going very direct to you today. No correct way to arrive. Chetalaj. Back into the center. Elbow onto the knee. Left arm reaching up to the ceiling. Reaching into the back, touch the floor. Right reaching up to the ceiling, touch and up touch. Right reaching into the back and touch the floor. Of the back knee holding off the front, feel lunge forward and backward. Arms stretch into the sides. Now left arm on the top on the Gardasana. Touch the third eye, not your story third eye. Because you're taught to seek extraordinary experience. The living laboratory of the consciousness is, here's the invitation is different. Rather than pursuing something new, you're quietly become interested in what has always been present before the explanation begins. And that explanation doesn't have to be grand story, because then you're going back to the story. Then you start adding things. Then you're taking things out of that story. And then you add, nothing is asked. Then you say, I have to work with this group, that group. Now, just gently take a couple of moments. There's no ideal state to reach, no special experience to create, no correct way to arrive. All right. Now, this explanation does not direct your experience. It removes what obscures the experience. Are we all in that space at this moment? If that is happening to you, stroke the third eye, spread the wings wider, and touch the floor. Into a plank, strong on the pelvic floor. Onto a lower plank now. If it is harder, drop the knees. Breathing in, up face, elbows tucked in. Breathe out, down face. Now drop the knees and stretch the spine. Now, on the living laboratory of this consciousness, we are welcoming all of you into this. Now remember, no suggestion is given about what you should feel. I never said that. See, remember, or understand, every conclusion is allowed to rest. Every expectation is gently placed with love aside. There is simply an invitation to observe what appears before the mind claims ownership. Notice now if you're in a space of a room, notice that hearing does not wait for your permission, does it? Breathing does not ask for your instructions, does it? Life has already begun before the thoughts says, I'm here. Why is life not noticing me? It's the time that life has to notice me. Before all that appears, life was there. Now, when I go into practice of helping people to understand this, I have seen most of the people start either shaking or fidgety on the jaw because a contraction appears, because something is energetically holding these patterns and it knows how to trigger you when you hit boredom. So it is welcome. If spaciousness appear, it is welcome. If need appears, that too belongs. Nothing needs correction. Nothing need resisting. Nothing needs becoming. So my classes on this living laboratory of consciousness is not presented as something to achieve. It has never been. It may reveal itself when struggle no longer occupies the foreground. Still remain curious and come to a child pose. Remain curious. Crown of the head onto the floor and lifting up the buttocks. Roll onto the third eye. Pick up the spine one vertebra at a time. Now, story only comes with image and language. Language. Because after you talk it to yourself and your virtual realities, you start exercising into the outer world to gain momentum for your story to live. Now, I would ask you today, allow that language to become lighter, not to change it. They can become lighter. And we can see that people do move into that space. I'm observing. I don't have to fix. Now, in that same space, allow that certainty to soften, that you don't want someone to change on a certain way. Allow the direct observations to stand on its own. You don't have to support the observation. Perhaps the deepest discovery is not hidden in a new experience, but in seeing what has quietly been here before every description. Now lifting up onto the knees, right arm roll back onto the sacrum, left arm roll back into the sacrum. Let the kidneys be buoyant. Then very gently opening up. If you want to reach onto the heels, it's up to you, but push the hips forward. And then back and relax. And now stretch the legs into the front and shake and get that contraction just to appear from wherever it has been kept, because that contraction was restored. In the same time, the spaciousness also was there for you. Let it welcome. If need appears, that's to belongs here. Now come into a sitting posture. Arms raised onto the crown, nothing needs correcting. Arms onto the namaskar position, nothing needs resisting. Nothing needs becoming. So you're bowing down that this session is presented as something, not something to achieve. It may reveal itself when struggle no longer occupies the foreground. Namaste. 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 Twist the spine to the right. Remain curious now. Back into the center. Change your legs. Allow the language to become lighter now. Allow certainty to soften. Because even closing posture, you have got attached to a certainty. Back into the center. Allow that direct observation to stand on its own. You can do a couple of more postures that if you feel like, if your neck has to be aligned, but nothing to align your